The salient features of cloning vectors. Very important concept. Very important. Okay. So there are 4 features which should be exhibited by cloning vectors. See, not all the cloning vectors will exhibit whatever the features I mentioned here. Got it? So if any particular vector possesses all 4 mentioned features, then it should be considered as a very ideal cloning vector for genetic engineering. So first important property is this. If I want to select a cloning vector, it should exhibit ORI site. At least one ORI site should be there in that particular vector. For example, plasmid. Do you think that plasmid has ORI site? Yes, it has got ORI site. Origin of replication. The second important property is selectable marker. Very important for board examination. Selectable marker. You may get a question for 2 marks. Mention the selectable markers used in genetic engineering or biotechnology. Selectable markers. I explained that. The third one is cloning site. What is this cloning site? When I was discussing about the restriction enzymes, I said each restriction enzyme is specific, okay, in their action. They cut the DNA at a specific sequences. What is that specific sequence? Palindromic sequences. It is also called as restriction site. It is also called as recognition site for the restriction enzyme. Yes. So that is called as cloning site, the other name. Cloning site should be there in the plasmid. Got it? Okay. So we just tried. It is also called as restriction site for the action of restriction enzymes. That should be there in the cloning vector. The fourth one is the size of the vector. So we write vector size. These are the 4 important properties that should be present, I expect, as a scientist in cloning vectors. Okay, but not all the vectors exhibit all these things. Okay, some drawbacks will be there obviously. Fine. That is the reason why we construct artificial cloning vector PUC 18, PBR 322, because it exhibits all. Okay, so origin of replication. For example, let us assume that this is the cloning vector. Okay, it could be anything, any type of cloning vector. I think I have mentioned 8 different types of cloning vectors. So this is a double stranded DNA, circular, like this, and let us assume that I'm going to treat this with a restriction enzyme, and they cut exactly at a specific restriction site. So I have got the fragment. So one particular fragment is being removed. Why? Because I want to introduce foreign DNA to this site. Yes? Okay. So here, let us assume that exactly here, after the removal of a fragment from this cloning vector, exactly here, let us assume that it has got origin of replication site. So this should be there. That means we have to be very careful when we take a specific cloning vector and treat them with a restriction enzyme. If something goes wrong, for example, if the restriction enzyme starts its action from here, obviously ORI site will be deleted, and even after you just ligate a foreign DNA to this and construct a recombinant DNA and introduce it into host organism, they will not replicate. Why? ORI site is lost. So it should be very careful. ORI site should be retained. So this is the thing. So ORI site is very important. Okay. So origin of replication is a must and very important property of the cloning vector. So note this point. Why? For this copy number. So this is the thing. Got it? Okay. Next is selectable markers. What is this selectable marker? Very simple and very easy. Let me just write the different types of selectable markers which is used in genetic engineering. There are 4 actually. These 4 are nothing but antibiotic, the chemical. Okay. This particular chemical is very dangerous to the host organism. That means it may kill the host organism. So we can use this technique, okay, or a trick to select the recombinants and eliminate non-recombinants. You will understand it now. So first one is, let me just write kanamycin. Very important, please write down selectable markers used in genetic engineering. You get this kanamycin 1. Next is ampicillin. Ampicillin as antibiotic. Okay. Third one is tetracycline. See, tetracycline can also be used. The fifth one is chloramphenicol. So these are the 4 different types of selectable markers. Even let me just add one more. Other than these 4 are antibiotic. Okay, these 4 are antibiotic. Other than antibiotic, even a naturally occurring gene in normally it is seen in plasmid, that is LAC-Z gene, can also be considered as selectable marker. We will understand it later. I will explain it in detail actually. Please note this. These are actually selectable marker. Let me just explain this. I think after explaining third and fourth point, because I need space, okay, about selectable markers and how exactly we use these selectable markers to select recombinants over non-recombinants. Okay, cloning and restriction site. Let us assume that this is actually our cloning vector. Okay, I am going to treat this cloning vector with a specific restriction enzyme, and the same restriction enzyme is also used to treat with our gene of interest, that is our passenger DNA. Okay, same should be used. So let us assume that this particular cloning vector has, for example, for understanding, we just write EcoR1, easy, because we know its recognition site, that is GAATTC. Here also, like, I think no need of it. So let us assume that this particular cloning vector has GAATTC. How many? 3 recognition site for a specific cloning, for a specific restriction enzyme. 3. Okay. So now this EcoR1 now actually bind to this and cut this particular fragment. Yes, done. But at the same time, it's going to bind and also cut this restriction, cut this cloning vector's fragment, because it has got one more recognition site. Again, it will bind here and cut. See, I have got pieces of cloning vector, so this is not ideal. So it is understood that for a very good construction of recombinant DNA, I should be very careful that I need to select a specific cloning vector. It should contain only one recognition site, only one. If it is more than one, you get pieces of cloning vectors. You cannot construct recombinant DNA. So the structure should be like this. Only one particular fragment or piece from the cloning vector should be deleted from the restriction enzyme. If you have more number of recognition site in a specific cloning vector, then you get pieces. You get pieces like this. So note this point. Cloning site is very, very important. Got it? That means only one cloning site is preferred in a cloning vector. Got it? To construct ideal recombinant DNA. Got it? This same is applicable to the foreign DNA also. I think we are not talking about the foreign DNA silent features, we are talking about cloning vectors silent features. So we just stick here. Got it? Hope you understood. Next is vector size. Okay, we just write here. I think I'll erase this. Vector size. What is this? Let us assume that I have got a very, very big cloning vector, and here I am going to draw a small cloning vector. Which one you prefer? I prefer this. Got it? Over this large cloning vector. There are large cloning vectors actually. What is going to happen? For example, let us assume that this is actually, after the treatment with the restriction enzyme, finally I have removed a small fragment from the cloning vector, so this is removed, and now I am about to introduce gene of interest. So let me just use blue color. So this is actually the alien DNA, passenger DNA, which is now introduced. So this is now rDNA, and I am going to introduce it to a host organism. So in the host organism, it may break. There is a high chance of breakage of this rDNA because of its size. Okay, so larger the size, there is a high chance of breakage. They break because this is circular. Just note this point. Got it? If it is tiny like this, so let me just draw the foreign DNA here, and now this is rDNA. If I introduce it to the host organism, nothing will happen to it. That is, so we prefer small sized cloning vector. So this is important property. Not all the cloning vectors actually have a specific size. It's like it varies. For example, if you take a plasmid, some plasmids are tiny, some plasmid taken from another type of bacteria could be large. Got it? So this is the thing. I prefer smaller one. because there is a less chance of breakage in the host organism. So this is the thing now. About selectable markers, we talk about selectable markers now. So let me erase this. Okay. Let us assume that I have preferred E. coli as host organism. Okay. So this is the host organism, and inside the E. coli, I have introduced recombinant DNA. rDNA is present in the E. coli. As a scientist, how do I know that this particular host organism has taken this rDNA? I don't know. I am not sure about it. So let us draw one more E. coli. I think we draw multiple like this. Okay. So this is now Petri plate. Let us assume that this is the Petri plate. Okay. So out of 4, only 2 host organism E. coli, they have taken rDNA and 2 failed to take the rDNA. So you cannot say anything, you don't say anything here. But at the same time, please make sure that even this particular E. coli also contains its own plasmid. Yes, right? This is white color one is plasmid. It's natural plasmid along with its main DNA. So this is the DNA, the main DNA. Yes? Okay. Now I want to select only these 2 and I have to eliminate these 2 because these are useless now for my experiment. I have to remove them, but it's like microscopic, I cannot remove them. So I have to do some experiments, selection, that is selectable marker. So what I am going to do is, I am going to treat this particular E. coli with a specific type of chemical antibiotic, that is ampicillin and tetracycline. If you remember my previous class, I mentioned this, that majority of the bacteria that contain plasmid, and the plasmid exhibit certain genes, and these genes are resistant to these. But one thing to remember, that if you take one plasmid from a single specific bacteria, particular species of bacteria, they will not exhibit or show resistant to all 4. It may exhibit resistant to any 2 of the antibiotics. For example, if I just introduce kanamycin to that particular Petri plate where a specific type of bacteria is there, okay, if they have resistant to ampicillin and tetracycline but not showing resistant to kanamycin, they die. If they have resistant to ampicillin, if I treat with the ampicillin, they will survive. This is it. This is actually the basic principle behind it. So not all the plasmid will exhibit the genes. Good example is if you take E. coli. E. coli is the only bacteria which doesn't contain any genes for all 4. Got it? So they will not show the resistance to kanamycin, ampicillin, tetracycline, chloramphenicol. No. That is the reason why the scientists prefer E. coli. So it will be very, very easy. Why? Because anyhow, let us just assume that this is the Petri plate and containing ampicillin, or you can also write tetracycline or chloramphenicol or kanamycin, whatever it is, because it will not show any resistance to the all 4. So here I am going to just culture the E. coli, and inside the E. coli we know that there is a natural plasmid. This plasmid will not have any genes for resistant to ATCK antibiotics. So what's going to happen to this? They all die. Simple, right? They all die. In this case, I have already introduced rDNA. In this case, it failed, naturally failed. In the method itself, it failed to take up the rDNA. Yes? Okay. For example, let us just assume that I will take this one particular cell which has taken rDNA. So we draw here, and here any let us say ampicillin is here. Okay. So this is the E. coli, and here let me just draw the rDNA. Okay, so this blue color one is the natural plasmids. Anyhow, like it will not show any resistance. But this rDNA, which is nothing but we have used a cloning vector here. That cloning vector will have some genes. For example, this gene is ampicillin resistant gene, ARG. That is there in the cloning vector. So if I treat with the ampicillin, if they survive, that means this particular cloning vector is already introduced into the E. coli and this is now recombinant. Yes, right? Simple. Got it? Okay, so this is one example actually. The same technique is applicable here because the rDNA cloning vector contains at least 2 genes for any 4 of the antibiotic resistant gene. Got it? Any 4 of the antibiotic. Okay. Now let us consider ampicillin and tetracycline now. So just we'll erase it now. There is a method called as blue-white screening. I will not talk about it now in this session, next session. Let us assume that this is actually the Petri plate containing 4 E. coli, and I will not draw a plasmid now, but I will draw the rDNA. These two failed to take up the rDNA, and what I am going to do is I am going to treat this bacteria with one particular antibiotic. Let us assume that it is ampicillin. Okay, ampicillin is there in the Petri plate. So these two bacteria obviously die, correct? Because they have not taken the rDNA, so they die. So we have left with 2. So it is almost understood that these two are now recombinants or transformants. I have eliminated this non-transformants now. But still there is a confusion. What is that confusion? Even though I have introduced rDNA, but I am not sure whether this particular rDNA containing the gene of interest. So I have to use a blue color. Because again, in the construction of rDNA, if something goes wrong, only cloning vector is introduced. I believe that rDNA is being introduced, but only cloning vector is introduced, and it failed to take up the foreign DNA. See, this is foreign DNA. That is in the construction of rDNA. In the first step, rDNA construction, if something goes wrong, only cloning vector will be introduced. Got it? So that is also there. Now again, to understand that, we are going to draw one more bacteria, assuming that this has taken only cloning vector. It will fail to take up this, because actually we went wrong somewhere else in the initial stage itself, in the construction of rDNA. Only cloning vector is there, but the foreign DNA is lost. It's not there. Got it? Here I would like to add some thing actually, so that you will understand it better. For example, let us assume that this is now a real cloning vector before the recombinant DNA or the construction of rDNA, and let me just tell you that this particular piece is now containing a gene for a specific antibiotic, that is tetracycline resistant gene is there here, and here somewhere else here, exactly opposite, somewhere else here in the same cloning vector we have one more gene that is for resistant to ampicillin resistant gene. So we have 2 genes in the cloning vector. During the construction of this particular recombinant DNA, let us assume that I am going to treat this with a specific type of restriction enzyme, and the restriction site is situated exactly where tetracycline gene is situated. Note this point, exactly tetracycline gene or resistant gene is situated. So this is tetracycline resistant gene segment. Exactly here the palindrome sequence is situated. That is the way we construct like that. Okay, that is scientist. I am not the one. Scientist. So here, because of the treatment with restriction enzyme, what is deleted now? The gene is deleted. Tetracycline resistant gene is deleted, and that is the specific site where I can ligate my passenger DNA. So I have to go with white color, for example. This is the now passenger DNA. Got it? So what is lost? Tetracycline resistant gene is lost. Simple, right? So here, this is now the site where tetracycline resistant gene is situated. Yes. But we have one more gene that is showing resistant to ampicillin resistant. Okay, so that is there. That is still there. That is still there. In this case, that is still there. But in this case, no, because it's failed. Okay, during the construction, only some cloning vector has taken up the foreign DNA and some failed to take up the foreign DNA, and it is not called as recombinant DNA. These two are rDNA. Yes? Okay, so again it is non-recombinant. How do I know that? Okay, I don't know, because it is microscopic. What I do is, first I treat these everything with ampicillin, and do you think that it survives? Yes, it survives, because it has got a gene here, for ampicillin resistant. This obviously will survive. This is also survive. So all 3 will survive. But I want to eliminate this. So that what I have to do? If you think simple, next is I have to transfer all these host organism containing both the transformants as well as non-transformants, both are there actually, into another Petri plate that is actually containing tetracycline antibiotic. Now the thing is, do you think that so we just, do you think that this one, the third one, will survive? This will survive? No. It will not survive because tetracycline resistant gene is gone. This one gone. It will not survive. So that means real transformants will get killed. Got it? Whereas this one will survive. So who the bacteria or the host organism which survives in tetracycline is not a transformant. So this is non-transformants. You may ask me a question that if the real transformants get killed in the tetracycline, then what is the use? For this, we use a method. We are not going to kill the host organism that containing real rDNA. Simple, what we do is we go for a method called as replica plating. Replica plating method is employed. What is replica plating? This is a Petri plate containing recombinants as well as non-recombinant. Okay, after treating with ampicillin, what I do is I take one more Petri plate containing tetracycline. So I just copy it like this. I just place exactly on the other Petri plate. This is called as replica plating. Replica plating means I am just imposing some host organism to be transferred to this another Petri plate. That is replica plating. If you have doubt, you can check it in YouTube how exactly it is done. Okay, that means the bacteria, some bacteria. For example, let us assume that in this colony there are about 50 host organism, in this 50 organism, in this 50 organism. Okay, 25 will go here, 25 will go here, 25 will go here. That is replica plating. That means the original copy is retained in the ampicillin Petri plate. Okay, remaining 25 will go to tetracycline. So here the colony starts dying. So it's very easy, exactly right. Where exactly the colonies are dying, here also the colonies will be seen. So very simple, I will select that, okay, this is now recombinant, this is recombinant because it's still living, it's dead. Replica plating, you just check it in the YouTube, okay, how it is exactly done. So this is the thing. So this colony survives in the both the cases. Sorry, I made a mistake. Actually. Yes, this is correct. Okay, so this is correct actually. This is correct. Because the recombinant DNA construction failed. So I have to draw entire cloning vector. So it also now survives in both the condition. Got it? Oh, I think no confusion here. Okay, so in the recombinant DNA, the restriction enzyme actually everything failed. If the restriction enzyme goes well, then only you can ligate it. Okay, that is correct. Yes, I made a mistake. Okay, so here living colonies, here dead colonies. So I can easily say that this particular portion of the Petri plate containing recombinants, this particular portion is non-recombinant. So I will eliminate this. I retain only this. I take a small kind of like what we say spatula-like structure, this one, and then actually I just remove this from the ampicillin, and then actually I go for the further procedure. That's it. Hope you understood this. This is actually selectable markers. That is the 4 different types of antibiotic. That's it.